Tonight on the Night Team. After 50 years, skating is back at Shawnee Park.
We deserve moments of joy. We deserve moments to really get together for a good cause.
How Joyride is bringing the community together and hopes to create a tradition for generations to come. Plus, a Louisville street now honoring the creator of the Molo Village Shopping Center, whose name you'll see plastered at 12th and Jefferson. And later, the Cats and the Hoosiers back on the field today, how our teams are starting off the season, right now on the WHAS11 Night Team. First here tonight, a man is dead after being found in an apartment unit with a gunshot wound early this morning. Thanks for joining us here on the Night Team. I'm Alex Dieterer. LMPD says it happened just before 4 this morning in the Newburg neighborhood. Officers responded to reports of a shooting on Ladina Way near Poplar Level Road. Officers found 48-year-old Mitchell Groves inside an apartment with a gunshot wound. Groves died shortly after EMS arrived. The investigation is still ongoing, and LMPD says all parties in the incident are believed to be accounted for. And a motorcycle passenger is in critical condition after a car accident last night around 9. LMPD responded to the accident at the intersection of Westport Road and I-265. Officials say a Ford F-150 was making a left turn on I-265 southbound and hit a motorcyclist. Officers say the driver of the motorcycle was unable to maneuver safely and crashed into the truck. The driver of the truck left his vehicle and fled on foot. Police say the motorcyclist and the passenger on the motorcycle were both taken to the hospital. The passenger of the motorcycle had critical injuries and the driver is injured but expected to survive. LMPD says neither of them were wearing helmets at the time of the accident. Officers attempted to find the driver of the truck but were unable to. LMPD's traffic unit is handling the investigation. Well, new tonight, roller skating is back in Shawnee. It's now been 50 years since a roller rink was in the area. The Night Team's Clary Shaley shows how one resident set out to bring the experience back, an event that's rooted in the neighborhood's history.
Food vendors.
We have bracelets. We have rings.
And artists selling originals.
It's all about community today. We're ready to have a great time.
A roller rink surrounded by music. All in parking lots next to the tennis courts at Shawnee Park in West Louisville. For the first time in 50 years, skating is back in Shawnee.
Let's see.
Dawn Shea Reed and Mosaic get ready to give it a spin.
We never had anything like this before.
Maya White is the organizer behind what she's called Joyride.
I am tired of having to drive 30 minutes out to do anything joyful for myself, and I'm noticing my neighbors are also having to do that or may not be able to.
Inspired by the park's roots, back when Fountain Ferry Amusement Park was founded. The park was integrated in 1965, but a riot in 1969 left Fountain Ferry heavily vandalized, and it never reopened. But the roller rink there stayed open throughout the 70s.
It brought a lot of joy. It was a lot of storytelling around going skating and just being able to walk and do that. And hopefully we invigorate that joy and that we can continue something. People see that we're worth that investment to impact our lives.
White's efforts are being recognized.
It's nice to see that we can honor like our history and bring it to current times for like the younger kids to enjoy and to just to get to embrace with the community.
Bringing back a tradition decades later with a look back to what it was and looking ahead to what it could be for the Shawnee neighborhood. For WHAS 11 Night Team, I'm Clary Shaley on your side.
White told us she's thankful for the funders who trusted her to put the event on today and calls on her neighborhood to find new and innovative ways to build their community. Well, new tonight, Reverend Dr. James Sept of Ferguson was honored with a street sign naming ceremony today. You'll be able to see her name at 12th and Jefferson. The Louisville community was invited to the ceremony today. Reverend Dr. Ferguson positively impacted the Russell neighborhood by creating the Molo Village Shopping Center next to her church, St. Peter's United Church of Christ. The center funds the church and its outreach. Well, today a local nonprofit celebrated a major milestone. Volunteers at Love the Hungry packaged their 10 millionth meal this morning. Since 2012, the group has been dedicated to end hunger by sharing nutrient-rich meals. We spoke with the executive director of the nonprofit about the impact they've had on children across the world.
Pretty significant that we can celebrate the impact that we're having globally. These meals have reached children and families in more than 40 countries, including the United States. And to think that this little location here in Louisville, Kentucky can have that type of global impact is pretty meaningful.
At our local location, more than 54,000 volunteers of all ages have participated in meal packaging events. Love the Hungry also thanked the community for their support of their mission and this milestone. Well, today marks 2 years since a Louisville man was killed inside a home in the Park Duval neighborhood. On September 6, 2023, 54-year-old Gary Henry was shot and killed in a Beach Street home. 2 years later, no arrests have been made in his murder, and his family is still searching for answers. We spoke to one of his family members today who wants to remain anonymous for fear of retaliation, but she remembers Gary as someone who could light up any room.
Gary was not only my family, Gary was my best friend. And nobody that I know of had anything negative they could possibly say about him. We want justice, but we know that that will not bring our family member back to us. We're looking forward one day to seeing him on the other side.
LMPD says the investigation into his death is still ongoing, but no arrests have been made. Chicago on edge tonight as the city could be the next battleground in President Trump's immigration crackdown. Officials bracing for possible expanded ICE operations as protesters take to the streets to voice their opposition. ABC's Ike Ajachi has the latest.
Immigrants are welcome here!
Tonight, hundreds gather in downtown Chicago, protesting against President Trump's expected federal immigration crackdown as he prepares to deploy federal troops to the city. All day Saturday, protesters marching and rallying, their message directed at President Trump.
What do we do?
No to Trump and no to his occupation of our city and state.
Whether there is a visible federally militarized deployment in our streets or not, our communities are still experiencing state-sanctioned trauma as a result of this orchestrated fear campaign.
Earlier, protesters gathering outside the Great Lakes Naval Base, where federal agents are expected to operate from for the next 30 days. ABC's Alex Stone was there and spoke with some of the protesters.
We're not all bad people. Everybody's not a bad person. It's heartbreaking. We're literally separating families.
The city now preparing for the possible arrival of federal troops. Chicago stepping up security, windows boarded at this ICE processing center, anti-scale fencing surrounding a federal building in downtown. Today, the president posting on social media, quote, "Chicago about to find out why it's called the Department of War," a reference to the executive order he signed Friday renaming the Department of Defense.
We have the right to do it because I have an obligation to protect this country.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker pushing back, saying, quote, "The President of the United States is threatening to go to war with an American city. This is not a joke. This is not normal."
Part of their kind of nefarious plan is begin with ICE, cause mayhem on the ground, and by doing that, say that there's a need for military troops on the ground.
White House officials tonight stressing the Chicago immigration crackdown is separate from the president's idea of using federal law enforcement and National Guard troops to fight crime in the city, similar to what happened in Washington, D.C. Ike Ajachi, ABC News, New York.
Louisville hosted the 20th annual Rally for Recovery today in Central Park. This is in honor of National Recovery Month. People advocating recovery and young people in recovery hosted the event celebrating recovery today. This was a free, family-friendly event that included live music from local bands, family activities, and dozens of resource booths. There was also a ceremonial presentation of 2 awards named for recovery champions, Dr. Burns Brady and Mike Berry. These awards honored leadership in recovery. Well, what would you do with more than $1 billion in your bank account? It's a question many of you may be answering as the Powerball jackpot continues to rise. But why is it that people get so excited about the idea of winning the lottery despite the significant odds of being against them? CNN's Mandy Gaither talks to a psychologist about it and how to know if your Powerball fever is getting out of hand.
If you're pumped about the Powerball jackpot, you're not alone, despite the fact the odds are against you. To be clear, chances of winning the top prize are around 1 in 292.2 million.
When the numbers rise into the billions, the reward center of the brain lights up like fireworks.
Clinical psychologist Susan Albers with Cleveland Clinic says that releases dopamine, a neurotransmitter made in your brain, also known as the feel-good hormone. She says the lottery creates what's known as the what-if fantasy.
Immediately, you begin to imagine in great detail what would happen if you won the lottery. Maybe buying a home, buying presents for people, quitting your job.
While Albert says it's completely normal to daydream about that island you'd buy with the winnings, she cautions Powerball fever begins to be a problem when a player spends large amounts of money they don't have, or if that money is meant for something else important. Other red flags include thinking obsessively about the lottery, feeling anxious while you wait for numbers to be drawn, or if it's impacting relationships or responsibilities.
Set a limit in terms of dollar amount and frequency in terms of playing the lottery. Think about what you are really craving. Is it excitement, freedom, hope? What is driving you to play the lottery? And there are a lot of different avenues to fulfill that need.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
$1.8 billion is up for grabs for the Powerball jackpot. That is the second largest Powerball drawing in the lottery's history. And unfortunately, you're not looking at a winner this year. But this past Friday, the Kentucky Lottery gave away 500 free Powerball vouchers at the Publix off Old Henry Road.